I told you that I was going to tell you a story about the guy who contradicted me yesterday. And what it was about was that I had already talked about how when you're telling a story, you're recreating an experience. An experience has contradictions, there's paradox. The story I told was about Jesus when they said, "Isn't it against the law to heal on the Sabbath because it's against the law of God to work on the Sabbath?" And he was able to say, if you had an ox that fell into a ditch, what would you do? And it's about how you pull people into an experience that has paradox, but yet you're being specific. Now, the story that I shared was from Mitt Romney, and this is from a video. I found it on the internet, and I've got an Obama story I'll tell you tomorrow. So here is what he said. I'll just read it. There are 8% unemployed. This is a number that represents real people out of work. Even people who are employed worry. I read an article in the New York Times about a couple of women who are struggling, and one is a single mom. Three kids. Three kids. One full-time job and 3 kids equals a hard time. This economy doesn't make for a real comfortable life. A lot of people in the middle class have fallen into poverty. This economy is not working for people, even those who are employed. So, first of all, I don't think mentioning the New York Times was really talking to his base. I don't think there's a problem with saying I read an article that named, particularly if, I don't have to explain that. So anyway, I found the article. I actually was able to go to the New York Times and I found the article. And here's what he could have said. Jessica Scherer. I read an article about Jessica Scherer, who lives in Ann Arbor, Michigan, and she's got a degree. Her rent is more than half her income. Oh, there they go. Her rent is more than half her income. She was told to take 6 weeks off after an operation for cancer, but she was only able to take 1 week because she couldn't afford to be not working for longer than that. Instead of swimming and tennis and perhaps belonging to Boy Scouts, her children can only choose one thing to do for the year. It's either swimming or Boy Scouts. One thing. And she can't even let her kids invite their friends over to visit because she doesn't have enough money to make sure there are snacks for the kids to eat. So that's a difference between being specific and being general. I don't have to explain the specific thing. I'm going to say that a lot. I do that a lot, and I'm not going to record these videos more than once. I trust you to account for the fact that I'm going to make mistakes. And frankly, that's one of the things that I teach when you're telling a story. You're going to make mistakes, just move on. Well, the guy holds his hand up, and, I call on him, and he says, I think you're contradicting yourself. You said in one sentence, a little while ago that the story is about experience and there's contradictions and it's about paradox, and now you're telling a story and I don't see any contradictions there. This is, about one person. Well, here's what I do when someone is trying to back me into a corner. I use the principles of Aikido. My boss, way back in the 90s, he was a black belt in Aikido. And when we gave leadership workshops, a whole lot of the things that we taught had to do with Aikido. I'm going to give you an example so that I can show what I'm talking about. It's faster. Can you see me? Okay. So here's the principle, is that when someone attacks you, when somebody comes at you, instead of principles like Taekwondo where you block, this is what I was taught in Taekwondo, Aikido is more of an idea that you let their momentum continue. You actually use their momentum and you end up turning in the same direction. So here's the idea, is that when somebody comes at you, So somebody's coming at me that way. What I do is grab their arm. I move to the side a little bit, grab their arm, and actually turn in the direction. Do I grab their arm this way? No, this way. Actually turn in the direction that they're going. And when you're good at it, you can actually flip them. But that's not what I'm talking about here. You can see the same direction that they're looking. And when we're doing the storytelling thing, it gives us an opportunity to validate their story, to look in the same direction that they're looking. So what I said was, help me understand what it is that you experienced when you heard the story. What did you feel when I talked about her, when I talked about the children in the story? Did you feel anything? And he said, well, what is he going to say? There's a whole bunch of people watching. So he says, well, I said, I really understand that these two contradict, and I'm not quite sure how to explain it until we go to, storytelling, until we can understand how that affected the way you felt about the story, because ultimately that's what we're concerned about, is people's feelings. And he said, well, yeah, I've felt something for these kids. I mean, they're having to live in this economy. And I said, okay, then do you understand the idea about being specific? And there are contradictions in her life where she is working and still it's not paying the bills. That's the contradiction of reality, but helping people understand the story is about being specific. And he was able to relax. That's one of the things that I do when somebody is trying to back me in a corner, is I just relax. That's Aikido as well. They call it soft eyes, but you just relax, and then you move in the direction of the person who is trying to come after. Wait, it was, let's see, they're coming at me like this. All right, I move in the direction, I don't want to get this wrong, of the way that they're looking. I validate their story, and then I can bring them around to another point of view. So I hope that helps, and I'll tell you the Obama story next.